every movie has random trivia. And here at Trivial Theater, Whoa. Thank you. Here at Trivial Theater, I explore some of these movies and the random circumstances that make them the weird creations that we love. 1986, Canon Films, director Tobe Hooper, and the tagline, "There's nowhere on Earth to hide." This is Invaders from Mars. After the ever-impressive Canon Film logo, we're reminded of the mid-80s trend of having all the opening credits fly in, made popular by the 1978 Superman movie. I will add this was probably inspired by the static title card for the original 1953 version. An opening meteor shower provides a background for a touching father-son moment. Enjoy it while you can, because these warm fuzzy moments are few and far between. We quickly learn that this kid loves space, and in case you forget it, just look at his bedroom. A freak lightning storm kicks up, but it looks a little more like the last heavy metal mosh pit I was part of. Awakened by the lightning, David, with mouth agape, witnesses a giant spaceship land just over the hill. As per usual with movies like this, his parents mostly chalk up his experience to bad dreams or a stray meteor. His dad goes out to investigate, and this being a horror movie, you can about guess what comes next. Guy goes missing, and then shows up in a muddy bathrobe, missing a slipper. Spoiler, they never find that poor slipper. David takes note of the first sign that something isn't quite what it seems. Gah! What is that? A shaving accident? Herpes? The plague? Luckily, we get a moment of unintentional levity from David, who grabs a Dr. Pepper for breakfast. Ah, the 80s, when soda was considered part of a well-balanced meal. David heads off to school, where we meet a teacher that is most likely part of an evil plot involving something. If it isn't alien shenanigans, she either killed Kennedy or kicks puppies. Either way, we learn that she doesn't like David and can't seem to help herself from using his full name all the damn time.
David Gardner. David Gardner. Hey, David Gardner. David Gardner.
Over the next day, we get a few indications that David's parents have gone a little funny. David's dad steals his pennies, and then his mom makes a snack of oversalted raw burger. Things get weirder when he finds his teacher taking the insult "suck a toad" far too literally. He finds help in the form of the school nurse, and they track the strange goings-on to a sandpit where he saw the alien ship land a few nights previous. Underground caves lead them to what seems to be an H.R. Geiger-inspired ship. We get our first glance at the aliens behind these strange goings-on, and all I gotta say is, all I can see is giant dancing testicles. Yeah, I know, but it gets better. Their leader emerges from a giant sphincter. We get more ballsack aliens, and David's description of them makes me laugh more than it probably should.
These things! They're huge, ugly, slimy, giant Mr. Potato Heads!
Eventually they turn to NASA, where David's dad works, for help. Even they have a hard time believing in UFOs, until practical 80s effects show us a mind control device implanted in the back of a guard's neck. We finally get a Canon film staple in the form of a giant rocket exploding on its launch pad. And then all hell breaks loose. Luckily, the Marines are called in to kick some alien ass. Now this is a bit of an aside, but as a kid I assumed quicksand was going to be a much larger issue in my life. And movies like this didn't help. Our heroes make their way to the ship, only to encounter what I assume people suffering from trypanophobia think getting shots is like. The evil prudish teacher gets her comeuppance for being an evil prudish teacher who wears tacky shoes. Then D's Nuts gets a good laugh. Charges are placed, and an eternal question is asked.
Great Scott, hasn't anybody got a penny?
The ship goes up in a Canon movie-sized explosion, and David's parents are saved. But then David wakes up, and we get the age-old trope of, it was just a dream. Or was it? So, 1986's Invaders from Mars was based off a 1953 movie of the same name. When I was watching this, the ship gave me real alien vibes, and it turns out there are some connections to the legendary franchise. Visual effects master, Stan Winston, worked on both this and Aliens at the same time, perhaps leading to an H.R. Geiger-inspired design. Writer Dan O'Banion was also involved with the scripting for the original Alien movie. In addition to a cast that featured Karen Black and Bud Cort, the evil teacher was played by Louise Fletcher, best known as the iconic Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Invaders from Mars was directed by the legendary Tobe Hooper, who was instrumental in good sci-fi and horror of the 70s and 80s, with hits like Poltergeist and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. You can see his influence guiding this, and I don't think it would have been as good without him. This movie has some pretty clever tricks. Only 2 alien suits were made for the production. Clever editing and the use of stand-ins created the illusion of multiple aliens on the ship. Also, it's heavily implied that David dreamed the entire movie. In fact, many of the shots were filmed from a lower perspective, and the story is entirely from his point of view. When I first saw this movie, I assumed that the entire ending was specific to the 80s version, but it turns out that the 50s version had the same ending. So woohoo for cliche continuity? I think I found my favorite piece of trivia for this in an unexpected way. At the end of the movie, David's mom, played by Lorraine Newman, speaks to her son in an exaggerated alien voice.
Tomorrow we will take a picnic up at the hill.
This is the same voice she used in the SNL Conehead sketch where she played Connie. Now, despite commercial and critical failure, Invaders from Mars has become a cult classic, and I think that's a pretty good place for it. The movie has all the hallmarks of schlocky 80s sci-fi, and it's worth seeking out. With this caveat, I do think it's important to pair it with the 50s version. Both offer interesting insights into the era, and one film definitely helped me understand the reasoning of the other. Thanks to Chris for this spacey recommendation. Real quick, I just want to say thanks to everyone that helped me get to 100 subs. It's a big milestone for this channel, and you made it possible. Bottom of my heart, thank you so much. So what do you think? Suggestions for movies, trivial questions, comments, ratings, and ways to get over an irrational fear of quicksand would be appreciated. Thank you so very much for watching.